Is that right? Good evening. Welcome to everyone. This is the City of Shelbyville Mayor and City Council study session. It's Tuesday, March the 4th at 6 p.m. And we want to begin our meeting tonight with public comments if we have any. Do we have any, Lisa?
I do not have anybody signed up. Do any of y'all want to make a comment? No.
I'm hanging outside.
I'll have plenty of
He's greasing up the corner right now. Oh, he's got to do that.
Our agenda was updated March 2nd. Hopefully everybody got that up, all the updates on it in time. And we appreciate Lisa and the work she does on that. Our discussion items tonight, number one, is the land lease for the Shelbyville Municipal Airport and Randy Hooper. And we'll ask Paul Perry, our director of the airport, to come and tell us about that. Good evening.
There we go. Okay, not sounding like a broken record because I just keep coming back to you for the same thing. So it is a standard land lease that we have we're looking to build another private hangar at the airport. So this gentleman has come before the airport authority looking for our standard lease, nothing different than is usual, which is a 30-year lease that'll, after the end of 30 years, the hangar will revert to the city. Or we have the first rights of refusal so that if for some reason he decided he wanted to sell or leave, or for some reason like that, we have the option to be able to buy out the lease and own the hangar sooner. But it's a standard 60 by 60 hangar that would be in line with some of the other ones. They would look almost exactly like those that are out there. And it's, again, it's for a private individual, not a company, but for a private individual. So one of the things that's he asked that is different than our standard lease is what we found is associated with insurance. Our leases are written to cover individuals and corporations. So when it comes back to as an individual, our insurance requirements are a bit heavy for what would be an individual. And so it would be reducing it from the $2 million demand down to $1 million demand, which would cover not only the equipment inside, but although what it does is allow us so that if something were to happen, the building could be replaced so that when it comes time for the end of the lease, the city will get the property. But it's our standard rate as well. 35 cents a square foot is what the airport authority is recommending to city council, which in this case would be 7,200 square feet is what he'd be leasing. It'd be the hangar footprint and then also the ramp out front at the same size.
Very good, Paul. Anybody have any questions about that?
What we got in our packet was just the base lease with a bunch of X's in. Are we going to see the lease before we vote on it?
Yeah, you'll have the
In the next
lease
packet.
with the name and everything, yeah. Actually, when I sent you all the blank, when I sent out to the airport for them to give me the information to fill in. Not sure if I sent it to you or Vivian, so.
All right.
Any other work, thoughts, or comments? All right, thank you, Paul.
Okay.
All right, our second item tonight is the daily pass fee schedule for our Shelbyville Recreation Center. We'll ask Trevor to come forward and give us a report on that. Good evening.
Good evening.
On February 3rd, Park Board met and voted to eliminate the $3 fee from our fee schedule, and to just institute a flat $5 rate at the rec center, and for all those folks that are utilizing the daily pass. This does not affect memberships or members in any way. it would only affect folks that are only coming in for daily pass.
Maybe. Mr. The initial recommendation for this $4, where did that come from?
Probably about 2 years ago now, it was discussed in Park Board, but never voted on. And initially, 2 years ago, they had talked about eliminating both the $3 and the $5 and just do a flat $4. That's what they had discussed. When it was brought back up to them, a couple members decided that they felt that the 3 and the 4 was enough to go with the 5. So that's where that came from initially. I put it in there because it's what I knew from 2 years ago, and obviously wasn't what they wanted to go with ultimately.
So what is your recommendation? You see that the additional income is pretty significant.
The additional revenue, right, and I pulled the numbers for 2024 for the entire year, and we took in 114,000 roughly in daily pass revenue, and at $4 that would increase to $149,000 a year, or at $5 that would increase to $183,000 a year. That represents either a 35 or a $69,000 increase in revenue year over year.
Okay.
We-
Go ahead, Josh.
Can I?
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, we talked about this a little before, you and I did. Already the math works out, obviously, that if you do a yearly pass, you're way ahead.
Yes.
So it seems like this $3 fee is probably our residents that are the most economically challenged, for a better word. This is probably going to hit our lowest income residents the most. We don't have any plan in place where we look, no kind of income-based help on getting into our rec center at all. There's no.
To my knowledge, that doesn't exist right now, other than our yearly sale where we give 25% off memberships for the 15th of December throughout the entire month of January each year.
Yeah. And I mean, I like that revenue number first. I'm not saying I'm against this plan, but just in general, the rec center is not a profit maker for the city. I mean, we're losing money on that every year. So we're not just looking at the revenue. This is a service we're providing to people that live in cities. So I don't want to go out there and hit our most vulnerable citizens by raising this, getting it. And I realize it's $2. It's not a big deal, but it might be, for some kids that are coming there in the summer or whatever to use the pool. So just something to think about.
What about our seniors? Is there anything there?
For seniors? Oh, yeah, we have, as far as memberships, we have senior rates for every membership that we offer. So they have reduced rates for an annual membership, track pass, couples, no matter what. If you're a senior, there's a membership in here that they could utilize.
Yeah.
And part of it would be driving folks to realize that it is in their financial benefit to utilize a membership over a daily pass.
Also, those seniors who have like insurance, Medicare, it is free because the park, I mean, the Medicare pays for it.
Yeah, we have 3 of those companies we currently work with.
Yeah.
Silver Sneakers, Renew Active, and Silver and Fit, I believe are the 3. And if you're insured, and there's a lot of people in those books that qualify, and their insurance just pays for them outright already.
Just as an FYI, I talked to a guy who had the Blue Cross Blue Shield, what you call it, Part B, I guess.
Mhm.
And not only does it pay for our recreation center for them to be in the silver, what are they called?
Silver and Fit,
Silver and Fit.
or Silver
It
Sneakers. It's one
also
of the
pays for his over here, the thing across the street here.
Planet Fitness?
Planet Fitness, he got both of them.
Yeah.
So that's something that Blue Cross Blue Shield apparently do.
Yeah.
And one other correction to Councilman Levins, the recreation center does not just serve the city of Shelbyville citizens.
Amen.
It serves everybody.
Right.
So if you start looking at a discounted fee of some sort, I'm definitely willing to take care of my citizens, the disadvantaged in Shelbyville, before I take care of everybody else's. So, since we pay 100% of the cost of recreation in Oklahoma County.
City does.
There's not a dime of county money in that recreation center, is there?
No.
Yeah. No, we can't provide recreation for the whole county.
Well, we do.
We should be asked, we do. Yeah, we do, I know we do. So I don't see any problem.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, Trevor.
You know, another comment is, the airport where Paul came was not self-sufficient either, but now I understand it is self-sufficient.
Don't get that.
So we could do, you know, so I'd say we need to look in that direction with,
I wanted to dispel any of that though, real quick. Right now, we generate revenue, that's true, and we are a revenue-based entity, for sure. But we're hitting at like 12%, so.
Yeah.
This would move us closer
Oh,
to
I'm not saying it
17%,
would ever be
but it's,
self-sufficient.
yeah, it's not.
but I
Yeah.
think it hurts to, if you can increase revenue, even like with these new soccer fields.
It would lessen some of the burden that it is, for sure, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Trevor, we talked the other day about the number of people, and I think the number that come through on the passes was 113,000 for last year, something like that.
Yes, sir. The total revenue was 114,000. That represents about 36,000.
Yeah, I was talking about the number of people.
Oh,
You and
the
I
number of
discussed that
people,
the other day,
I
yeah.
believe we're well over
I
100,000
had an
people a
interview,
year.
so I was asking for numbers like that. We also have, of course, we have volleyball and basketball and all those kind of things that the whole city and county use, and they come in and they don't have to pay the fee, but they pay $1 or $2 to get in to watch their children play from 5 years old up to 16, 17. Am I right? That's the ones that just go into
So
the gym,
spectator fee, yeah, we
Yeah.
do charge a spectator fee to
Yeah.
come in to watch youth basketball.
and it's like $1 or something.
Yes, sir.
Okay, they charge me.
Well, that is a travesty and
It's always packed, it's always packed too. I mean. It's always packed. It's a great thing that we offer. Those children and those parents being there, it's exciting. It's good to have. Thank you, Trevor.
Yes, sir.
Donations. Number 3, the EV charger project, dedicated parking spots, and we'll ask our city manager, Scott Collins, to give us an update on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Shelbyville Power has been working with TBA, and TBA is going to fund the establishment of 4 EV charging places. And at this time, they're wanting to ask permission to install 2. And they're called DC fast chargers at our parking lot over McGrew in Spring Street. And you've got a diagram of their proposal, and the Shelbyville Power Board did vote unanimously to endorse this project.
For your test.
It's our TDA. The hospital paying for that.
Oh, absolutely, sorry.
No cost to the city.
No direct investment at all, except for, the parking.
Okay.
Do you know where the other 2 might go?
Yes, I heard that. We're on the diagram.
There's all the 2, but it's
Yes.
4.
He's going to bring it on out.
All 4 of them there, not 2. Okay. I misunderstood.
I'm sorry.
Any other questions for Scott on that? Scott, did you have any more to give us on that? Okay. All right, number 4, we're gonna keep you right on the floor, Scott. Riverview District Project Phase 2. Would you update us there?
Yes, sir. Thank you again. And a big thank you to all of you all for coming out at the Dusty site. Councilwoman Ewing, you gave great media coverage. We appreciate that. And appreciate you all taking the time to walk and be able to see it hands-on. One segment we didn't get to discuss because we ran late on time was, a drainage area and some phase 2 things that we want to give you a preview of. I'll ask our Public Works Director to please address it a little bit, particularly the drainage and the street slope.
Sorry if I sound like Rudolph.
Speaking of drainage.
I got plenty of drainage. Scott, I want to make sure that I'm going the right direction here as far as the drainage, everything with phase two. We have to remove the road that's there existing right now. So up there where where their main entrance is gonna be for Grindstone, that's a pedestrian nightmare. To be able to get out and not have a trip hazard and keep everything ADA compliant. So a lot of what we're gonna do, that's why the road is gonna invert. Right now, the road is like this, and the road's gonna end up like this. We're gonna have a 10-foot path that goes down sidewalk, and that'll be the drainage area. So when it rains, everything will drain away from the buildings to that point and get down to the end and get off. Part of the things that we have to do, we'll have to put a pipe in the ground down towards the end where it gets and be able to get it off the side there. Scott, phase two, did you want to talk about the depot as far as the one way? Is that part of that?
Well, mainly what we wanted to accomplish tonight, we're not asking this to be an agenda item for next week. We just wanted to give a preview that we ran out of time to thoroughly discuss it. And thank you, IT Director, for pulling it up. But in the April agenda, we do want to present some numbers, consideration, and a vision of what it'll entail.
I got Tom's pointer.
Okay.
So yeah, right here, you're looking at Spring Street. Right here is where our issue's gonna be, right there at that entrance. And down here, I know some of you have seen some preliminary concepts of where our seal might be and everything. Right in here is where we'd like to try to get rid of the water. This is kind of fun. Or should I be pointing?
Yeah, there you go. There you go, bud.
Well, I was having fun on that one. I'm not used to this. This is fancy for me.
Okay.
But I don't know if you guys have had a chance to get by over there where we are working. We have got it up to the subgrade base now. It was the city that did it. We're trying to save every dollar that we can, so we utilized our own guys. It'll be the cost of the rock at this point, and then hopefully you'll have your dressed up change order and everything else when we're done with it. But is there any questions that you guys might have had in this area? I know that we didn't get to everything, and I just want to make sure that.
Since you brought up depot, you guys gave us that diagram that I didn't look at till we left that meeting, and it shows some street, we'll call them realignments around the square. Is that something that's gonna get proposed to us? Who actually looked into that?
It's all conceptual.
Okay.
There's ideas. We're trying to create more parking, more places, where people can go and they're not gonna be so far away from it. They're just ideas now, that the concept of what we're thinking, and we'll go in the direction that you guys tell us. The one thing I will say, I hope is not, can you go show me City Hall? Is right here, I would like to put one of these there. If you guys have been up there at 3 to 4 o'clock, people are using this as a cut through, and they're flying through there, and they're picking lanes and everything. They're in the turn lane going straight. It's crazy. So if I can put one of these bump out triangles right here, so I can direct traffic and put a stop sign there, I think it'll make it a lot safer for the people that are going to City Hall. We can actually open up Holland Street there to where people could turn and go down Holland Street. Right now, they don't have that ability. So that's one of the main things there as far as safety. If I don't want that to be conceptual. I want that to be something that gets
I
done.
saw that on the diagram and I agree. I've nearly been T-boned a couple times, pulling out from City Hall there, somebody flying too fast across the square.
Yeah, that's exactly right there in front of City Hall. I have one, when I pull out of there, or I've seen people trying to get out there and the traffic come across there, they can't see you.
No,
Right there at the Methodist Church, and they're going a little faster than they probably should.
I guarantee you they're not doing 15. Guarantee that. Cause I've almost gotten smoked there a couple times, so I just wanna
Okay.
make it safer. But if there's any other questions, and Scott, I'm sorry, I wasn't completely,
Thank you, Buck. We appreciate you being with us. No, you don't feel.
no problem.
Okay. All right, so the next item, anybody have any more questions there? Okay, the next item is the River Overlook Project request for extension. Scott?
We've had two recent meetings regarding this project. And, one thing I want to touch on, President Trump has signed a executive order that, eliminates in essence the environmental justice, portion of the NEPA phase. Now, you still have to do a lot of environmental work, which is near completion, but some of the extras has been eliminated. And, we had a productive meeting Thursday morning with, the engineers, and they are wanting to request the city council to authorize us to go to TDOT, sit down with TDOT and ask for a 6-month extension, a 6-month extension. They're very close. The funds, in accordance to the Transportation Alternative Program Grant, the funds must be committed, after the bid process on October 16th. Their current schedule has us going to bid and city council being presented the bids in January. But we felt it'd be better to ask for 6 months instead of 3, and then something happened, we have to go back and ask for more. So Thursday night, we'll be asking council to authorize us to approach TDOT for this request.
For just 6 months. The same year, so I just wanted to make sure.
I thought.
It said in here.
I'll get this in here, okay, so I misspoke.
That's what I put in the,
Yes.
staff summary, because I thought that's what we
A
did.
year. Thank you all. I'm sorry, I know Buck's feeling bad. The mayor walked me all over Nashville last night. I'm kinda tired too. No, that's good. Thank you all for pointing that out. And that would be a good grace. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Any comments on that, folks? If not, we'll move to number 6, retail strategies, professional services agreement. Scott, again.
Yes, sir. As y'all know, we've had a partnership with Retail Strategies out of Birmingham, Alabama, for over a year now, and our contract's expired. But we would like to ask council to consider extending that for another year at a cost of $25,000. It's very beneficial. They do leakage reports and give us just volumes of information that in turn we use to approach, commercial developments.
When do we have to do that, Scott? When will we have to send them that other $25,000? Do they need to have that by April or when?
Not necessarily, they're not over the date that you tell me.
Will you?
Don't we really need to, make a decision on the partnership before we commit to this? Because it make,
Whatever the will of the
I
council.
mean, if we do the partnership, I don't think we need the 25,000 necessarily. If we don't do the partnership, I think we definitely need the 25.
Whatever the pleasure of the board is.
I mean, does that not make sense?
Does make sense. Okay. Anyone else?
I would love to maybe see some type of analysis as to what they have accomplished or what is kind of on the rim of being physically here, seen, heard, touched,
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly.
I can look up the report for you. I'll wait until a determination is made on the partnership, but that Need to report to January.
I mean, if we're not running to a time crunch paying them, I mean,
No,
it's up for renewal, but
they were getting ready to update some of our information and they're still working with us even though the contract expired. But because of the relationship, they hadn't thought much about it. But, no, we're not up against the time crunch.
It should work out all right then.
Yes, we just hold back the updates.
And we can play it for a month or two.
well, this other should take place within at least a month, shouldn't it?
Yes, sir. The partnership board meets next week and then they'll provide dates for us to coordinate the meeting with this mayor and city council.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 7 is the fire department standard operating procedures update. And our fire chief is with us tonight. Matt, would you, Mr. Doe? What did everybody do with Buck the other night in that video? They went, ooh. Go ahead.
Well, what we've done is just updated our SOP, which most of you that's been here for a while, you know, it's just a living document that we're constantly updating as things change, or we see a need for something to change. So, we've had it to council, and I think council's pretty close to finishing that review. So we're just asking for permission to implement.
Any questions for our fire chief? Okay, thank you, Matt. Okay, the next item is number 8, the retirement plan. It's a plan document restatement, and we'll ask our city treasurer, Kay.
Yes. Thank you. My understanding, this is just a standard, plan restatement that you have to do every 6 years, I believe, that's required by the IRS. It's related to our defined benefit plan that actually closed at the city, I think, in 2005. But of course, we still have people under that plan. It's just new people can't go into it. But it's not changing anything. It's just we have to do a restatement, and then we have to have a board resolution, and then the trust agreement, the trustees have to sign, which I believe is Scott and myself. So it's mainly just a standard document. And Henry, do you have anything you want to add? He's on the pension committee and.
This is just for the pension plan only, which we basically don't allow any more new employees to be in it. But the state has come up with a form, basically it's check the box form. So they want it in the new format. And every 6 years, they want you to restate it. So this year, they've come up with a checkbox statement. So that's why when you looked at your notes, there's a whole lot of little check boxes and a whole lot of blank boxes, more blanks than checks. But every now and then, you go down through there and check a box. So that's what our consultants that we pay for and do our annualize these things did for us. But they're a lot more experts than we are. So it's not really, didn't change anything though.
And it's gotta be filed by March 31st, so if y'all approve it, then we'll get it signed and get it to them in order to make that deadline.
Okay.
What do our non-pension employees get right now? We just a 401k?
Right,
Yes.
7%, the city puts in 7% of their salary.
And have we looked at TCRS? Are we, any chance we ever go to that as a city?
I guess there's a chance, but I don't.
We looked at
There's
it
been some discussion, but
6 months ago or a year ago, something like that. But I think it got stymied when they couldn't get a real number. It's one of those plans that kind of looks good on the front end when you're going in and your existing employees and that kind of thing will probably cheerlead it because it looks good for them. But what happens over time, you have employees that come in for a short term and they leave. You still got to track them. They come in at 25 years old. You got to track them until they die, basically, on this pension plan. And the costs keep going up every year to keep them on the plan. So over time, you have a budget creep that it gets bigger and bigger. So that's why most people have done away with the budget. I mean, done away with the pension plan because the budget just keeps getting bigger and bigger on it. It looks real good on the front end because we can switch to it today and it will cost the same or less than what the city's paying right now on the 401K. But over time, you'll have 401K and the pension. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And somebody 20 years down the road will say, wow, this is a lot more than what they anticipated maybe.
Okay, I haven't
That's where it
researched it, I just know,
that's where
I've got
it-
friends, first responders that work in the state, and a lot of them have
Yes.
said they'd rather have it here in the city. I think the county is under TCRS. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've heard from people in that community that would prefer it. I just don't know.
Yeah. That's where it kind of died was,
Well, actually, it came back up in pension committee, and there was a conversation, and then no action was taken after that. But during the strategic plan, we would like to present it. And now, let me disclose, I'm very biased. This is the only city I've ever been involved with that does not have TCRS. And, of course, state of Tennessee has it, so.
Yeah.
And it's the top 3 in the nation as far as pension plans. So what we're hoping to do, and we got kind of confused, does it have to be endorsed by the pension committee, or can we do a full-blown presentation to the mayor and city council direct? So that kind of jumbled things up a few months ago.
Anyone else? It's very important. Okay, the next item is Century Mold, and this is a pilot request. We'll ask Scott to update us on that. That's payment in lieu of taxes, for those in the audience.
The mayor received notification from the attorney for the Industrial Development Board, who had received a request from Century Mold. And the request from Century Mold is for an additional 15-year pilot program for an expansion of $6 million in equipment. Century Mold is a strong employer for the city of Shelbyville, have a long history and have benefited from previous pilot programs. And they contacted the IDB attorney and just asked that city council consider their request is 15 years.
They have 187 employees. They're not adding any employees. The $6 million investment is only for equipment, and that equipment is to help them to compete with other companies that are doing the same work and for their expansion for equipment just in Shelbyville. So it's not buildings, it's not for employees, it's just for the equipment, $6 million for the equipment. 15 years, I think the last one they had was in 2019. It was approved by the city council for 15 years. My thoughts are that's a long time.
We done got into that mess already, but
That's exactly right.
Has
partnership.
has the ITB board gone back to maybe saying, hey, or can we request them to go back and say,
That's what we're looking at, negotiating with them, see what we can all.
okay,
Anybody have ideas? I think we had sent out, did that go out to everybody, that Kay has put together for us?
I got a question.
Go ahead,
I
Jim.
know Century Mold has been very diligent since they've been here for
Yeah.
30 years or whatever. I
Good.
remember when we brought them here, they came in under a pilot. And it's been every few years like this. They go through a little expansion or whatever and ask for another pilot. I'm curious as to what payments they have made, and I understand this sounds like it's earmarked directly for that $6 million equipment addition.
That's correct.
But I'd like to know what has been paid over the last 10 or 15 years, especially that, when they would have been out from under the original pilot agreement that attracted them here. And then my second question is, when we have equipment, we allow the pilot to go into effect, is there a clawback provision like we have in Duxon if they don't use it in 5 years or whatever, and don't maintain those employees, then there's a way to get those taxes back, so.
Yeah, and the thing, when I was talking to, the attorney for the IDB, and we were all in that meeting, they did not, say that they would add any employees to this. It was just strictly equipment on this $6 million. Now, the other pilots that they've had, Bellhouse over the years has been for expansion of the company and employees. So that's kind of why we're looking at this one, because it's just equipment. Of course, we want them to stay here. I'm like Mr. Bellhouse is, they've been a great company, and I know they've been here for a number of years. But, I think we need to, my personal opinion, we need to come back with something to offer them less than what we're talking about now. Whether we do that tonight, do we have to do that tonight? When are they looking to get that answer?
Mayor, what I would
Yes, sir.
recommend is that next Thursday,
Yeah.
take a formal vote on, you want to counter with 7, 10, 12, 14 of them.
Yes.
And then send that to the IDB attorney and let him take that in negotiations, and if necessary, the parties can come to play.
I'm like Henry, I'd love to know how much they're into the deals that they've already got.
At the 4th year, is it, am I reading this right? They're paying 30% that 4th year,
Okay,
3 years, 0, 4th year begins.
That's what they said they've done in the past. Yes. Now, the mayor asked me to just calculate a 7 and 10, and of course, those could be any percentages y'all want, or any number of years. But yes, that's how it looks in John T's email there.
you have the numbers, you don't have those numbers tonight as far as the one that they've got in 2019. I think that they've got 2 or 3 that are still in,
I can research that.
okay.
Are they
We bill those out each year. The property assessor gives us what to bill. I can check that out.
What did Bobby say?
the tips that they've got now, what's the length?
The last one was 15 years, I think, the 2019.
That's what I'd like to see is what they
That's
have
exactly
actually
right.
paid. I don't know if we go back to the beginning of time, but at least.
I can research that. I can research
And,
it.
because you can get mission creep every time you add a nice multi-million-dollar stuff. But if you're encompassing the whole piece of everything you've ever done, all of a sudden you go for years and you haven't paid anything. So
That's exactly.
I just want to make sure that's not happening.
That's exactly, and we discussed what they had on the table. We had an IDB meeting, William, you remember this, last month or month before last, and they wanted to add $200,000 to the 6 million. Remember what the number was on that one? Wasn't it?
Not exactly.
Okay, but they wanted to add $200,000 to that existing one that they were already paying. And that's where we get into that, you're talking about,
That's why I
extending that. And we did, and that's one of the things that I asked the, attorney for the IDB. We're not extending that date, and we're not, altering that date to make it come back to that last month or a month before last. And he said, no, Mayor, we're just sticking this value on with the one that they have already. So Kay does need to research that. I would recommend not to go over 7 years, maybe even down to 3 or 5. We're gonna have to get together, all of us, and put out, I know we did away with the existing, IDB offers that we had, for companies to come in. We've been doing some research on the communities around us, counties and things like that. And, the 14 years that we were offering was way out of bounds on what anybody else had and around us. So that's the reason we did away with that one. And we need to, put our heads together and come up with, as far as values and number of employees, maybe 3, 5, 7-year plans, something like that, maybe up to 10 years. So, that's what we need to look at and put that on paper so they'll have it. Do you agree with that? Williams, the secretary on that. Yeah.
And I'd like to see that most recent policy that we had that
Yes.
we no longer have, because it did have parameters, the number of employees, the amount of equipment, to get you all the way up to 15 years if you were a
Right.
$100 million operation. But something like $5 or $6 million operation, I don't think it went
No,
near that generous, so we definitely need to
That's
develop a
right.
policy.
I agree. I agree.
Definitely gotta have clawback, like Henry
That's
said.
right.
Yeah,
You got to have it,
you,
yeah.
they come in there to offer us the world, and once they open the door, we don't know what you've done.
That's exactly right. Exactly. And we don't have a whole lot of control. I'm talking about the city. We don't have a whole lot of control. If they come in and say they're gonna put $100 million into the plant, and then they're gonna put 100 employees, the city, who keeps up with that? In other words, who enforces that you have to do that? And then you got to call back and see about the taxes. I think the state is the one that kind of looks over most of that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we have to think about that too when we're putting something together. Any other comments or questions? That's good discussion.
And if we give them whatever we possibly give them, I mean, they're getting a break on county taxes too. Does it then just have to go before the county commission as well now, since the IDB board can't grant these? I mean, or are we the only sign off on this?
I think John T. has said there's only been one or two that they've ever taken to the county at the insistence of whoever was representing that particular. There, I think
Because they're getting a bigger break on
the way
county
the
taxes.
state law is, I think the way it actually reads is that was in the purview of the city. However, there have been people that have questioned that.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so we don't have any stairs right now. I mean, the other thought is, I mean, we've got other people expanding in town, like Walmart has got to be spending way more than $6 million.
Exactly right.
I mean, if they come and ask to not pay property taxes for 15
That's
years.
exactly right.
That's, yeah. That's
And companies outside of the city,
yeah.
in the county, we're not dealing with.
Right, but Walmart's in the city, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're exactly right, Josh.
And that's the
Anyone
reason,
else?
that's the reason we passed the resolution not long ago that we would not do like we did with Duck Sand. We
That's
do
exactly right.
individual basis.
That's exactly right.
Approved by the approved by this council.
That's exactly. And that's why we got this one in front of us. Okay. Y'all be thinking, everybody think of this, that. And Kay, you might run some, after you get all of that information there. We've got that 7 and 10 year, that you calculate for us. We'll talk about maybe a 3 or 5 and just see what we can do on something like that. You agree, Scott?
I think,
Yeah.
city council needs to definitely come together on the proposal and then go to the table.
Take it back to the attorney.
Yeah, we want to do our best to help industries grow. We've done our I think due diligence on Cooper Steel and Duxon and some others here recently, and trying to keep all of those jobs, especially adding jobs in Shelbyville and Bedford County. Okay, number 10, animal control ordinance review. Scott?
Thank you, Mayor. We would just, before we go do a deep dive into another animal control ordinance, we would just like some clear direction from the majority of the council about where you want to take this ordinance. I mean, we've had already about 3 staff meetings discussing various issues. And then, of course, council has met on it over 6 times. Please tell us where you want to go.
Enforcement?
Yes.
Josh been on another field trip.
We had another field trip. We met with New Destiny Dog Rescue, who are here in town, and they're boots on the ground working on the stray dog issue in town. And we asked them to give us a presentation tonight. They're not ready yet. They asked if they could give us one next month. But Betsy took more notes and has maybe some more of their ideas. As far as the tethering goes, I looked at some other cities in the state of Tennessee, what they're doing. It seemed like there were 3 different routes on the tethering. There was either a complete ban, there was a hours-based ban. A lot of cities have no tethering from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Just on that one, that puts a lot of pressure on the police department because animal control is not open from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So you've got to send your police officers at that point. And the third one, which seemed like probably the most viable of the 3 for us that doesn't require a lot of personnel, is a weather-based ban, where if the temperature was over 95 degrees, heat index, or below freezing, or there was a severe weather warning, like a tornado warning or a thunderstorm warning, you weren't allowed to have your pet tethered out in the yard in those cases. That takes care of a lot of those. you and I dealt with a lot of those calls through the winter of dogs that were out when it was too cold. So that takes care of that issue. Enforcement in the cities that I saw was first 2 incidents were a fine. And then on a 3rd incident, they impounded the pet. So, and obviously that's something we could discuss how to do it, but that's the least manpower requirement as far as the other one. Again, if you're doing it every day from 10 to 6, then you got to send police officers all the time. But if you're just in severe weather events, it's less time that you're having to enforce. But then New Destiny had a lot more ideas as far as, they would like us to enforce more on spaying and neutering, what we could do to help actually get the population of stray pets down, which is, a bigger, longer term thing.
On the backyard breeders. They're
Backyard
really
breeders.
good about backyard breeders, having the regulations maybe for them.
Okay.
And what we could do, and we weren't sure, so we were gonna have a discussion.
Yeah, that's almost zoning, almost travel over into zoning, about whether if you are actually a backyard breeder, are you actually zoned in your area to do that work?
Or if they're a business, or should they be paying on their, that was a lot of their questions, and it was just mainly reducing the population, is the big kicker for them. And that's what's causing all of the cost.
Well, there's a couple of major issues here, and the city attorney will be able to update it. She's been working with MTS on how to, everybody understands that we all love dogs.
Right.
Probably the majority of us have dogs.
Right.
And so nobody wants to see them have more mistreated. So we just need to know the level of financial commitment that we want to make if we do push for a ban. And then moreover, now there's multiple layers to this issue. The chicken ordinance, council has approved. And it says keep them in a penned area, no roosters. So if we're going to step up the enforcement on that, are we ready to build chicken coops?
No, we're not.
We're just gonna have to have
No.
Well, if I'm not, if you don't mind, also,
We're not in the chicken. No, we're
Well-
not in the chicken business.
I've stated this before, and I may just need to, I'm sorry to talk about workshops. I may need to just have a more comprehensive conversation with you about municipal law, what we are and how our municipal code works.
Mhm.
At the base level, the only remedy the city has for a violation of its municipal code is to write a civil citation into civil court, which is our municipal court.
Fine.
And if the judge finds that there has been a violation, he can fine them up to $50 a day. There is generally no enforcement power in the form of what you may understand as an injunction. In other words, if a dog is barking, you're writing a citation. Your police and animal control don't go take someone's dog off their property because it's barking. Your municipal judge does not have authority to then order in court if somebody just refuses to somehow manage their dog. He can't order animal control to pick up the dog. It's a fine. Now, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Understand there are provisions in state law that sometimes mimic what we have in our city code. And so you may have a greater enforcement power because it's state law, not just city code.
Yeah.
Two different things.
Right.
And so that's what I was asking you about. How I understand generally animal control, they have the power to go pick up an animal that's running at large.
Right.
That's not taking someone's property on their property, in other words.
Right.
That is clear. State law allows us to do that.
Right.
It's a different thing to go on someone's property and to take their property, their real property, and take their personal property for something. So unless there is another provision, and when you were talking about tethering,
Right.
there is a state law provision that talks about if tethering endangers the animal. So I would like to know where you saw that. Two things come to my mind. There are some cities that their municipal court also has general sessions court concurrent jurisdiction. That means they have the exact same level of power as Charles Rich does over here in Bedford County General Sessions Court. Charles has a lot more power, a lot more power. He can do all kinds of things that we can't do in municipal court. And so that's what I was getting at. Those cities may actually can say, we'll pick up on the third time you haven't got your dog off the tether. I don't know if that city is a general sessions jurisdiction. And I also don't know if they've tied that back to the state law provision that talks about that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some things that animal control that I know that they can do that relates to a dangerous dog.
Right.
State laws on dangerous dogs that we have some power on. But we're basically enforcing a state law, not our municipal code. Same thing with the health of an animal. If the animal's in danger or a person's in danger, running at large. Those are the three big things that I think of that animal control has the power to actually get an animal.
Which that might be the weather thing. They may be tying back into the state law, and that's a danger
Yes.
to the animal.
Yeah, so I just want to make certain that folks understand. The general base provision is if it's just a law that the city has come up with and puts it in its code, and it doesn't have, it's a restriction like that, and it's not something that has another state law behind it, you need to always understand that our enforcement power is fining. And the way you then go from that is if, say you get a $5,000 judgment in municipal court, I can actually go file a collection action. General session's probably where I'd go. And there's all kinds of steps that I could go through to try to get that money. You're not wanting to get the money. What you're trying to do is to force someone to get in compliance.
That's right.
But I'm sorry.
No, that.
I went on and on and on
Don't be
about
sorry,
that,
that's right,
but
that's good.
that's where you,
That's good. And our deputy chief, police chief is here, he's over animal control, Mr. Pat Mathis. And Pat, we appreciate the job that you folks are trying to do. And I had sent out email, I hope everybody got it, about some dog named Bear, I didn't know Bear.
Everybody.
I guess I've been under the rock or something, I didn't know about Bear. And then the situation with the rooster, that gentleman, again, I explained in the email that he said she doesn't have one now that I complained about, she has 4 more. And so in court, I think our city judge did give her 30 days to do something with that rooster, and then they would come back and do the fine. If we had
and that's what I think,
Yeah.
Jones,
so that was
generally.
everybody say, yeah. Well,
And I actually had a long conversation with MTS's municipal court specialist, John Eskins, yesterday. And John actually came out of Clarksville. His legal background is from a city that has, their municipal court has general sessions jurisdiction, like we don't have. But John is very, very knowledgeable, and I'm halfway of the idea to make him come down here and make y'all go and listen to his presentation about the various powers and authorities of municipal court. In general, and he backed this up, he said, most municipalities like you always offer, hey, here's our first court date.
Wow.
If you do what the law says you're supposed to do, I'm gonna give you 30 days, 10 days, whatever it is, get it done, come back here. If the codes department or if animal control tells me as the judge that you're fine and you're in compliance, we drop it.
That's right.
The city's not trying to make people pay. He goes, you can. John said some cities do, a lot of places don't. It is a mechanism, it is the only mechanism, really, that you have to enforce your just plain local municipal law.
That's right.
And so, yeah, I think that's generally what he does.
Yeah.
And so you come back up and what you may, just walking through what a court time may take. So you've got proof on February 1st, your first court date's March 1st, he gives them to April 1st.
Right.
They show up or the judge, or they don't show up, and animal control says they're not in compliance, so you've got 60 days, you may have a $3,000 fine at that point.
That's right.
I can go collect that, but understand a lot of these people, I think a lot of times you're gonna find that some of these people may be judgment proof.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to go and collect
No, that's right.
the money. I'm not saying you can't. I just want you to understand that is the lay of the land when it comes to the law about how you enforce this. And it takes takes more time on your staff. John pointed out to me, he goes, Ginger, when you're talking about something like roosters, your animal control would probably need to go at a minimum once a week, probably every 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
To document that. We're talking about pictures and documenting
Right.
that much. To be able to get a $3,000 2-month fine in court.
And on roosters.
That's the basis. Of course, now you can continue to write them more citations. Just because you did it one time doesn't mean that you stop. It's a continual violation.
Right.
You can continue to do that.
And we get the same thing on building codes. I mean, we give them a penalty and they can ignore their registered letter and all those kinds of things.
Well-
Pretty close. I mean, not exactly, but pretty close.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because
Yeah.
I want to say, John and I talked about that too. You can enforce like weeds, tall grass, some of those things. You can do that through municipal court, but also know that we have 2 other mechanisms to enforce that. You don't really have that with animal control.
Mhm.
You've got a slum law clearance.
Right.
You all have to declare it. That's all state procedures. And what we follow as a city for tall grass is actually the state code, which we have adopted into our municipal code. Once again, that is a little bit different. That's a different level because the state has given the authority to the city to do a different type of a program. You can go on and cut their grass because the state says you can. The state's given that kind of authority. The state hadn't given us authority to go pick up the rooster. Sorry, Marilyn.
Well,
I'm sorry, Marilyn.
are there people or are there not farms in the county that would love to have roosters? Have we ever solicited the fact that, we can't make our city residents seem to realize we don't allow this? Is Mr. X, Y, and Z outside of the city welcoming roosters? Is there anybody that does that?
Well, what I have run into, and it's rare, I guess you guys get the calls too, on every one of you representing your wards, but I have gotten some calls and I would report it to, Scott and to, Deputy Chief, and they would go out and make a visit, and they didn't know that it was affecting their neighbor, and so they would get rid of the rooster. I've had that to happen. Then I had a lady that used to be a city council person call me about cats all over her patio and stuff. What in the world are we gonna do? I mean, if you get, and this dog running wild bear, that lady was wanting to capture it and put it on a chain and put it in a house and all those kind of things. And then she got all kinds of flack on Facebook and stuff about that. So it's a very touchy thing. What can we do? And, just like Ginger was talking about, as far as us making a decision, I guess we can make a flat decision, but whether we'll ever collect any funds or get that situation corrected, what do you think, Chief? You got any answers?
It's gonna be difficult. It's like Ginger said, the only option we have is the civil.
Right.
On some things.
On some things.
If we got wild cats that,
Yeah.
think about that feral cat presentation some of us lived through.
I'm thinking about the Flintstones, putting that cat back in the house.
Dogs and cats that are running at large are not the same thing as somebody not being responsible pet owner.
Right.
And doing what they need to do
Right.
on their own property. Those are 2 different
Yeah.
things.
Right.
The city can go pick up
Those
animals that are running at large.
Right.
Now, what we do with them is a whole nother.
And your place is full, isn't it? Animal shelter?
It's not right now,
Okay.
but it fluctuates.
Is there a way for the ones that are running like at large, if somebody wants to come get their animal, that we give them an option to, hey, you might not get the $50 fine if you take and spay and neuter your animal? If it's a, you
I
know,
believe they do.
is there
They do
something
that.
that we can
I think
set
that's
that
part of
into?
the rehoming part.
Like, give them a break from the $50 fine if you show us proof that you've taken? Or let us,
I know if they adopt one out, they give them a voucher for spay and neuter.
okay,
And, of course, most of them take care of that, so.
right. So if somebody wanted to come get their own animal that was running at large, could you say, hey, you know, you can have your animal back, it is your personal property, but in order for you to do that, because it was running at large, you have to spay and neuter.
I'm not sure if the state statute gives us
I
that
just wondered.
authority to require. We'd have to look. I mean, you have to try to find, if you find a dog, you think you know who the owner is, it's running at large, there's some procedures that you have to follow.
Right.
You can't just
Oh,
do
yeah.
whatever you
Okay.
want to
Something like
for picking it up,
Yeah.
but yeah. That's something we can find.
I just wondered.
And on the tax, that rehoming, we've had 2 or 3 I've been involved in where they bit somebody or something like that, and then that person rehomed it, and they got the animal vaccinated, and then they paid for, I don't know if they paid for the medical bills or those kind of things like that. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I know I've had to spring a couple out some at times sitting on the lane. And, equal opportunity, they get my dogs just like they get everybody else's. They've had to ask me to make sure they obviously were neutered, but the vaccination tag.
Right, that's right, that's right,
So they must have some authority to,
that's right.
had to prove that, but
You haven't had any roosters they've taken, have you?
I have no rooster, but I did have one in the neighborhood.
Chief, you got anything to share with us? We appreciate the work you do. Thank you. We'll go to work on it.
The field trip didn't solve this.
We need to bring you on the next deal.
You are more than welcome to join us on the
Break
next.
the-
Thanks.
What direction?
Well, I just told you. I said, okay.
You know, we still have.
Okay, I guess we just need to think about and what do we need to do? Do we need to have a special little session to discuss it or change it, or what do we need to do?
What do you want to do?
I want to eliminate dogs from chains
Okay?
because it's cruel. You hear I have a dog across the street, I hear whining and all night, and in the last few, if it pours down rain tonight, it's gonna be, yes, it has a doghouse, but it's not gonna stay warm, and it's not gonna, and the thought of throwing some hay in there that's not gonna keep that dog once it starts pouring. It's, the only way you're ever gonna change it is to eliminate dogs on chains, period. Except if you wanna run your dog out during the day to exercise on a tether. And that would be house pet, that would be house dogs, you know, and I understand that. Your neighbors have their little dogs, they're too old to walk around the block, I guess, although I have neighbor ladies I see that are in their 80s walking dogs up and down the street now and exercising their dogs because they love their little dogs.
That's right.
But now to have one hung on a chain 24 hours a day is not loving an animal. I mean, that is not loving a pet, and there's no way that pet can be enjoying its life. It just doesn't.
Okay.
I'm sorry, well, I guess for next Thursday night, I mean, you all have not seen an ordinance. We don't have one drafted. We don't have actual direction.
No.
I know you've been very clear, Councilman Christie, about what you want. You've brought up some very good points. I guess we need, what are we doing for next Thursday night?
Trying to find
What do y'all
someone in the
want?
county to take the roosters?
What are y'all to take action on, I guess?
What did the gentleman you talked to, did he mention, you talked about those 3 different things, did they mention one where there was no tethering at all, no chains involved? Was there anything that they?
I mean, we have, there's cities in Tennessee that have it's either Chattanooga or Knoxville have a straight ban on tethering, but I think we've kind of discussed that before, and that's a big burden on our animal control.
Did you read deep enough, do they have to have fences for the dog to be
Well, that would be
outside?
an option, yeah,
I mean, we
you
have
have
a
to have
leash, don't we
fence.
have a leash law in Shelbyville?
Yeah, they can't run it large, so if you don't have, you have to have a fence.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, which is a
Yeah.
burden on people that can't
Yeah.
afford to fence their yard.
Well, then they don't need a dog.
Whole lot to think
I
about.
mean, honestly, if they can't afford to take care of it, you don't.
I mean, you can have those GPS collars, or, you know,
I'm
you
sorry.
can put the GPS collars on them, but then that's
Yeah.
a cost
I like
too.
the
That's
invisible
a cost
fence.
too, but then you're gonna, if they're running at large, you're gonna have more animal control that's needed, more space, more people.
Do you get paid for that extra? I mean, there's a fine if the dog's running loose and you go catch it and then Henry said he had to bail his out. Bail. And
They pay something. There's something.
like, is there a charge on that? If you pick them up and house them for?
No wrong with citation.
It's
That's what I was thinking, yeah. Okay.
Patch
We
is
got
10%.
any answers, folks?
I didn't get mine. What do you want on the agenda?
I mean, do you want to start with a weather one or an overnight one and work our way up?
No.
I really just want to go straight. Yeah, I know. You just-
I'm sorry, but I watch it every day across the street. It
Yeah.
gets over after a while, and
Right.
when you call animal control and they come out and, or before they come, they say, "Have you got any straw in the, well, hell, I don't know if there's straw in there or not." And that's really that's not make the difference between the animal that's taken care of and, I mean, when you don't even pet an animal, you just leave it on, and we've had instances, we had that.
Yeah.
And it's really terrible when the city of Nashville sends people down here on 2 occasions last month, 2 different occasions because of the animal. That's not real good. It makes, what are we doing as a council if that has to be done?
Well, I think there's one like that on a chain across from one of the faculties as well.
Really?
I like your no chain thing, I know you on that.
No chain thing.
Yeah, I think.
We're not ready,
Gotta
we're not
start-
ready, we
gotta
don't
try
have the
something.
ordinance, we don't have anything in place.
That's what they're
Let's
asking,
go.
Marilyn, that's what they want to do, what, on the right.
Well, without enforcement, that's the thing. That's the thing that I am thinking about. How do we enforce like the roosters or the poultry, the chickens, all those kind of things like that? And like Junior said, we'd have to take them before the city judge and get those penalties, but then you won't, I mean, it's just like, are we getting anything done?
No,
If I can focus us in on the question about, do you want an ordinance in front of you next Thursday night that eliminates tethering and chains, okay? Let's talk about that. Roosters is one other thing.
Well,
We would need to also know if we can do one of those things, can we even pick up? I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to do some research on that. The other thing you all need to know, you need to hear from animal control and police department. If you do that, what the expectation is of their resources that they will need to enforce it.
That's right.
Because let me say this, if we can pick them up, it's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah, it
If
is.
we've got the room for that, and if they're not adopted out, we try to be a no-kill shelter. So, I mean, there's a lot of implications from that. Do you understand? To me, you need to hear all of that information based on whatever you're considering voting on.
And you could also say household pets can be tethered outside for exercise for a couple hours.
What determines the household pet?
And how many hours is
Yeah.
it?
They're just so,
I wanna see y'all go up to these people that's got these dogs, I'm talking about bad dogs, they ain't there to play.
right.
And they're chained, they have to be chained. What do you have, who's gonna go up there and mess with those dogs? That's not me. I mean, these dogs are mean, they're just dying for you.
Why do they have them then?
This was just, they may be fighting, who knows?
Yeah.
But y'all won't see you go up there and get it.
Put a fence up.
Yeah, and a situation of people having to pay for a fence. I think we had one person that their dog, it was bothering somebody next door, and they said, well, you just put up a fence, and they can't afford it. Can't afford a fence.
May I ask the DC a question?
Yes.
We don't have tranquilizer guns, do we, at animal control? So when you're just talking about safety, I just wanted to point that out.
Oh.
We can catch by,
We've got
Catch
catch
balls.
poles. And we've got tasers, but hitting a dog with a taser is difficult.
yeah,
And if you get, I mean, you get reports of somebody having a dog on a chain that's not taking care of it. In other words, it doesn't have straw, we've run into that, doesn't have a bedding and doesn't have a place to go and all those kind of. Somebody being mean to a dog, I mean, I guess you get that report from time to time.
That falls under animal cruelty.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
State
I
law.
thought that was state law,
State
yeah.
law.
Yeah, I thought you
Very
had that.
different.
Can you define the tether?
People that.
Yeah.
Can you define the tether? No chains,
Whatever they-
but this, and, you know, if it's above 95 degrees or something, or below freezing.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have them in a shelter, and then define the shelter, which we do have now.
You were discussing the impact.
Yes,
After the last meeting where we discussed this,
right,
animal control went out and they kind of did some site checks.
okay,
They come up with 100 dogs that's tethered currently. So I think the kennel holds 37.
okay.
So, I mean,
Potentially 100 dogs.
yes,
So you could have dogs running at large, you could have folks that just ignore the law. There's various things that you would, situations that you may be.
You know, but if
Faced
we pass it, and if we get it in the paper and we get it advertised that we're gonna do it, and give everybody 60 days to either get fences up or get underground, cable or get a GPS thing, a lot of people will, I think a whole lot of people will either, if they don't really care about their dog, they'll get rid of the dog. Or if they do, I think they will make arrangements to make the change. I mean, I may be wrong, but I think they would.
One thing of getting rid of them is a lot of them, if they don't really care about the dog, they'll just take them and dump them. Or they'll take them and, you know, I mean, that's what
Yeah.
they do, they do that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing about that.
Which is bad, but,
Yeah.
but it could be a one-time thing for the city, and even if we have to hire extra people for a short period of time, or get with this Destiny Rescue and try to alert them that we're gonna be having extra animals, or, there's 2 or 3 groups besides them, isn't there?
Yeah, there's.
I mean, we can plan for this, we can, if we want to make the decision.
Well, that's what we need to know.
Plan.
What do you want us
That's
to
right.
plan on as a consent?
Well, New Destiny wants to come talk to us and give us a presentation. Well, New Destiny plus the other two, they're all working together.
Do Destiny.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's just do that.
have a conversation with them.
Okay.
Is that set a special workshop for New Destiny?
We had told them April 1st was.
We
our
just told them
next
next study
session,
session.
But I mean, I'm guessing they could probably do another night.
Study session in
We
April,
have a workshop, let's get,
Yeah.
study session in April, they could come and give us a program.
They wanted to get some numbers together and a presentation together.
you know, they're out and about, I bet they would just as soon have it 12 o'clock. What do you think?
A lot of us can attend it for them.
I
Yeah.
can't, most of the days, I
That's right.
and they all work, well, 2 or 3 of them that do New Destiny, they do work also other jobs.
6.
Okay.
I mean, I can sometimes, not.
5 o'clock would be even better right after work. You know,
5 o'clock.
Well, let's think about not the enforcement, let's think about the privacy. These people have their animals and that being tethered, some of them may not be being mean to that dog. They just want to keep it from running off and things. I can see where some of them have got those big old chains on them. I know exactly what you're talking about, Winfrey, and things like that. But we've got that animal cruelty state law that we can always go back to on that.
Right.
I hate to see us pass an ordinance that we cannot enforce.
Exactly.
I just can't
We've already
see,
passed it on the roosters.
we can't
they're not
enforce
going-
roosters right now. We've already passed that.
Bella's got
You
roosters
can't enforce
everywhere.
Sorry.
It's serious, but it is funny. There's no doubt about it.
Mass lunch and go across town,
Well,
just take all the
it's roosters.
free home.
I think they take them all.
Go read off all the rooms.
Go read all
I'll
the-
be out.
We're gonna move forward. Number 11 is the local tourism grant. We appreciate everybody's input on that. I mean, we understand I understand, and I hope everybody else does too. Nobody wants to be mean to animals. That's just not good. We don't want to be mean to children, we don't want to be mean to each other, and we don't want to be mean to animals.
Oh, no, you ain't met my grandchildren.
But there's people out there gonna do every one of those. Yeah. What do you say, Lisa?
Yeah, you met my grandchildren.
That's exactly.
And she had to take care of today, that's
That-
why she's probably in.
Fresh on her mind.
It's fresh on her.
Number 11 is the local tourism grant, the CMSA extravaganza and the CMSA Eastern Championship. Scott?
Mayor, this is the Cowboy Mounted Shooting Association. And, you and the city council sponsored them last year. And the Tennessee's, Department of Tourism projects economic impact of $1.4 million per event. And last year, they brought in over 480 competing individuals and families. It's a national event, and then, of course, the Eastern Championship, which will come out of the 2026 budget. We're asking for 7,500 there, 5,000 for it.
And they're bringing in RVs, a lot of them are, and we get hotel motel tax off the RVs. And then some of them are staying in our hotels and things like that, and we get the tax off of that, correct?
Shopping and eating.
And that's where these fees will come from, our hotel motel tourism
Yes.
taxes, okay?
We've been staying around 5,000. I mean,
Okay.
I think that'll be enough personally for both.
Well, it's up to the council.
One 7,500 for some, 5 for the other, and I think the max we've been doing for most of the horse shows so far, I've heard, is 5.
Last year you did 75.
Did you 75?
For the championship, that's a special. Yes.
We got plenty of money in.
And this show used to be somewhere else.
Yes.
I mean, they have made this their home now, right? Shelbyville, our walking horse facility.
And each of these events is 7 days, so it's
Right.
it's a lot of activity.
Food, restaurants, everything else, sales stuff, yeah, good. Okay. Anybody else have a comment? All right, let's move forward to old business and ordinances, second final reading, public hearing, an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend Article 2, definitions, Article 6, supplementary regulations, exceptions, and modifications, and Appendix 1, table of uses of the Shelbyville Municipal Zoning Ordinance by updating Section 2.2 definitions, adding Section 6.4 Y supplementary regulations for transfer stations and Appendix 1 table of uses, and to repeal any ordinance, resolutions, or part of an ordinance or resolution in conflict herewith. That's a mouthful. We've talked about this multiple times already. Do we have any more discussion on it? Tom is ready to jump to the podium. Do we have anything?
Let's talk some more trash.
We've already approved. Well,
Okay.
yes, we-
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any reason for us to? Okay. All right. Do we need to wait on William? We can move forward, I think. Okay, all right. New business ordinances and ordinances of the Shelbyville City Council to amend the Shelbyville zoning map by approving the rezoning of approximately 8.75 plus or minus acres owned by Pleasant M. England, addressed as 138 McDale Lane, referenced in Bedford County tax records as map 69, parcel 31, tract 1, and attached as Exhibit A and Exhibit B, final plat from residential R2, medium low density residential to residential R4, high density residential, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. How many units were we talking about there?
Let's see, 8.75 acres, let me just calculate real quick, I had it in one of my slides.
This is going from R2 to R4.
It's on the slide.
That chance to slide by.
Let's
76.
Sir?
Yeah, 76.
76.
Yes, that's the gross density.
Okay, and that's gonna be on 8 point.
Oh, sorry, R4, I forgot R4, 127 is gross density. I was calculating for, R3 and.
Hey, Tom,
Yeah, so you're talking about 127.
will you please come to the
Oh,
podium?
so sorry.
And mine is certainly a lot easier than animals. Yes, so this
My
is
grandchildren, you gotta beat him a little once in a while.
this is 8.75 acres. Even though this parcel is actually one lot, they are looking to split those lots once, once.
Oh, yeah, that's track one on the other side of 437. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So tract one is on the north side.
Right.
It's 8.75 acres and you have a gross density of 127, but I would say that probably 30% of that will be to infrastructure. So you'll see a reduction in that, but that's just to give an idea of what the gross is. It meets, it was supported by planning commission except for one was opposed. Everybody else voted in favor of it. It meets our future land use map for the character area, as well as the neighborhood conditions.
Okay, is this, two-story, single story, do you know at this point? That'll be site, when they do the site.
The only thing that I know is that this is a, I guess a higher end, which I don't know if that means 2 stories or if it's 1 story. We don't have a concept plan for this.
Okay. All right. Can we vote on this next week? Just a second?
This is first reading.
This first reading, okay, okay. Anything else you can tell us about? Anybody else have questions about this one? Okay, Tom, thank you. All right, B is an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend the Shelbyville zoning map by approving the rezoning of approximately 4.68 plus or minus acres owned by Pleasant M. England, addressed as State Route 437, referenced in Bedford County tax records as tax map 69, parcel 31, tract 2, and attached as Exhibit A and Exhibit B, final plat from residential R2, medium low density residential, to commercial C2, general business, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. That's right across the street from the, or right across 437 from tract 1, right?
Yes, sir.
So you see, that's track 2. This is what's proposed to be, zone C2. It is 4.68 acres and currently, or I should say that during the development of the site is when you'll get sewer extension, sewer water.
Okay.
We have sewer in the corner here and then water across the street, and that will occur, during during the development. It meets our, future land use map as well as our current zoning. So it was 7-0 for in support as well as staff support.
Yeah, I remember us discussing this at planning commission. TDOT, the traffic on 437 right there for either one of these projects, have they looked at it? And that they have, haven't they?
They will actually look at it during the time, they'll have to have a traffic study regardless for
Okay,
both
that's what I
of
was
them during the development phase of it.
But that'll be commercial property out there, which we
Yes,
probably need in that area, okay. Anyone else have any questions right now? Thoughts or questions on this? Okay, thank you, Tom. All right, C is an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend Article 2, definitions of the City of Shelbyville municipal zoning ordinance by updating Section 2.2, definitions, and repeal all previous ordinance or part of an ordinance in conflict therewith.
Okay, and actually I can speak on all 3, but there are individual ordinances. The first one, I'll just, I've grouped this together just to show what we are doing. So we're fixing some of the broken links that are in those zoning ordinance that are, in this case, the definition is, I'll say out of place. Open space is, we're putting that in the proper article and section, which is the definition, so it'll apply to everywhere that it's used, and it's typically in any type of development. And that's just and for clarity, we're putting the design standards referencing those for anywhere site plan applications are necessary. And then if you look down here on the summary of changes, these are all applicable to multifamily. And this arises out of the growth committee that the planning commission has. And so the big changes are increasing the open space from 10 to 20%. Anywhere there is R4 PUDs, and I should say also that's in R3A for multifamily. Requiring open space in 20% in R3A. We didn't have one in the R3A ordinance. And that's only where multifamily land use is proposed, and you'll see it in the coming slide.
Okay.
And then open space required to be located within 5 minutes of every dwelling unit, which is about a quarter mile. And for reference, in our subdivision regulation, a block length is 1,000 feet. And then R4 lot frontage is increased 100 feet. And of course, I brought my pictures here. This is what it looks like when you don't have open space. You see these very compact developments.
We don't want that.
Yes, and so on to the definitional changes. All I've done is to relocate the exact definition of open space from the PUD section, which was 5.8, and put them in definitions. And that is so that it'll apply to, well, actually, it's for clarity, so that you know what a definition of an open space is. And also that includes the usable open space. Oh, that was C.
And we can always go, I mean, we're going from 10% to 20%, and you were telling us about some of our neighbors in southern Middle Tennessee going to.
They have 30, they have upwards of beyond 20%.
And we can always, in Shelbyville, if we want to expand that.
Yes, sir.
Slow developments are to expand that open space for.
Yes, sir. And one of the things that you'll see probably later on this year, I'm not sure of the time frame, I'm actually creating an ordinance specifically for open space and having its own chapter.
Okay.
And that's where you'll see the definition change and the different types of open space.
Very good, very good.
If our neighbors are doing 30, why don't we go on to 30 now? Why do 20?
Agree.
Go to 30.
And that is certainly
Yes.
up to the city council that they can propose that change.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll just bring it up, I brought up to 20, yeah, we started, this started 12 months ago in February, the growth meeting with Waleed. Waleed and I sat down and did the initial proposal, which was presented in April of last year, which we were at 15%, which we were basing that off the city of Franklin, which is, obviously nice neighborhoods that we like. But then as it's drug on for a year, I had more time to do more research, and Nolensville is at 30% and Thompson Station's at 45% on their residential. So we just, and I was the one that actually brought this particular motion at planning. I just felt like 20% is doubling our current standards, so it's a good move in the right direction without, going too far. But again, I'm not opposed to 30 or 40. I'm just feel like making some kind of step is good at this point. And then if we sit for 6 months, we get new developments, we don't like them, we can come back 6 months and move it, to 30 or move it to 40 or.
Developer, their HOA or somebody takes care of this open space?
That's correct. This is common area that's under HOA.
Okay.
And I will add that even though the location of open space currently in our subregs, it just basically says that it should be centrally located. It doesn't specify how far, but most of the developments, they do actually put it within that 5-minute walk. So it's not like we're creating an undue burden on them.
And that lot frontage is 75 now, we're increasing to 100?
Yes.
Are everybody comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yeah, just a couple examples real quick if I can. I'm in Union Station,
Right.
which is one of the, I think maybe the first PUD in the city. We second. Oh, yeah, because the other, I know what it's. Yeah, but there is, we're about to have, when it's all said and done, which will be next year, we'll have over 1,000 people living there. And there are no neighborhood amenities in that neighborhood. It has no, what we're now defining as usable open space. There's no dog park, there's no walking trail, there's nothing, no playground. One of the big developments that probably is coming down the pike in the next couple months, which we've all seen a lot on Remington Farms, they're proposing 2,500 people in that neighborhood. And all they're offering us at our old standard, which was the 10% standard, they're offering one playground, 2 dog parks, which is some grass you put a fence around, and two, they're calling it sports fields, which is just 2 open spaces of grass.
Right.
And that's it for 2,500 people. So at least this would double that amount of space in that type of neighborhood. And again, we may want to go to 30% before too long to get it even more.
Yeah, and most of the changes that you'll see coming in this year are all related to open space, green space, and buffering. And I'll keep repeating myself, I'm a little bit of a tree hugger, but in the next one, I'll try to bring more slides that shows what it could look like with more green space. So, yes, sir.
And what about road width? Where people can actually pass, park on the street, you can allow those kind of things.
That's, actually, I was writing my notes and I didn't catch Buck before. In May is we have a growth meeting coming up in March for traffic study, or actually next week, next Monday. So we'll improve our traffic study in that one and.
In parking.
Oh, in parking standards. Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was. But in the following one, and I've been having it I think every quarter. So in that next one, that's where we're going to start looking at the subregs, which addresses lot widths and things like that.
Yeah, for the houses not side by side, 10 feet apart.
Yes, and we want to also incorporate some of the master plan that is coming from Parks and Rec as well. So.
And longer term, Nolensville, who again, we've looked at, they've got standards of tree canopy coverage and stuff like that. So Tom, when he's a tree hugger, can actually, they take measurements before they build the development, say it's got 28% tree canopy, and they require the developer, when he's done, to leave 28% tree canopy. So we can go a lot deeper in that and get it.
Very good. And that makes a neighborhood.
Yeah.
That makes a neighborhood.
Yes.
So it's not a big deal, let's go to 30 instead of 20?
No, I think so.
You like that?
Motion next week.
Thank you, buddy. Well, it came in the most.
No, not tonight, next week.
And Nolensville has that standard to go through. I was there yesterday, and my head was on a swivel. All of these huge developments, not talking about just little,
yes.
they were knocking down entire hills with huge equipment, so all residential type stuff coming in.
Yeah, they just passed.
Amazing.
Yeah, the one I saw was, it's a mixed use. It's a Kroger, a restaurant, office building, and then townhomes. Yeah, they're at 30%. They even have bicycle parking, which I don't think we're gonna get into bicycle parking.
Well, you know who's the assistant town manager there?
Yeah.
Chuck Downham with MTS.
Oh.
So he's been very helpful, when he was.
I'm glad our committee is updating and doing those kind of things in council. You make recommendations, Tom and his group, and Josh is on that also, and Scott, and these folks are doing a good job on that. All of Southern Middle Tennessee is just growing like crazy.
Yes.
And so we've got to do some things to slow down. And we talked about it at the airport the other day. We had all kinds of people at our airport authority meeting the other day, wanting to have hangars out there, wanting to put this there, wanting to put that there. And we don't want that at the airport either.
Yes.
So we're trying to slow things down a little bit and make it better.
Yes, sir.
Not just slow it down, but make it better. Good job. D, an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend Article 3, supplementary provisions and administrative procedures of the City of Shelbyville Municipal Zoning Ordinance of updating Section 3.13, site plan, and repeal all previous ordinances or part of an ordinance in conflict therewith. Tom?
Okay, this is just more cleanup work for the zoning ordinance. Typically, whenever ordinances are updated, sometimes they, you do what is most expedient. And so in this case, we had a standalone document that is our design standards. And it was done as standalone under ordinance 2023-1204. And so what I'm doing is putting it into the appropriate place within our zoning ordinance, which is
under Article 3, 3.3. And there's nothing changed about what it applies to. And our design standards deals with landscaping as well as the architecturals of all these types of developments.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Any questions for Tom on that? Okay, let's move to E, an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend Article 5, zoning districts of the City of Shelbyville Municipal Zoning Ordinance by updating section 5.4.2A, medium high density residential districts, R3A, and section 5.4.3, high density residential districts, R4, and repeal all previous ordinances or part of an ordinance in conflict herewith. Tom?
Okay, so this is what, well, this is where R 4.3, or actually I should say R 4.2A, which is the medium high density residential R3A. And this is where you see it, the open space is only applicable to multifamily and not duplex developments. And only because this is kind of an incremental change. But you'll see here, open space requirements has been added to the section as well as a reference back to the design standards.
Okay. Okay.
And then in R4, this is where you see the lot frontage has increased to 100 feet.
Right.
The open space requirements down here, and then I can change those. It's from 20 to 30 and then 15%, that'll be 50% of that. And then here you see as well, the open space requirements has been added to it as well as the architectural design standards.
Okay. Just quickly, R1 and R2, if we have a 10,000 square foot lot for R2 or a 15,000 square foot lot for R1, do we have anything, just setbacks is the only thing we can control, how big a house they put on that piece of property?
Yes, and then the subregs also includes open space, but it is at 5%, and we can take a look at that in the coming months, whenever I think it was a May.
Good idea.
Growth committee.
Yeah.
Because we need to update our subdivision regulations, and that's where that can
We
be
probably need to look
applied.
at that, because, you know, a lot of people don't want yards to take care of anymore, and they're just building the whole lot is a house.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, okay, thank you, Tom. Any other comments or questions, Tom, on that? Okay, F? Tom, I believe you can have a seat.
Yes, sir.
F is an ordinance to make amendments to the adopted budget ordinance as amended of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, various funds for the fiscal year 2024, 2025, the period ending June 30, 2025. And we'll ask our treasurer, Ms. Kay Parker, to give us an update on that. And by the way, Scott and I were at the meeting yesterday, and the comptroller named off some cities that were not doing their work. Shelbyville was not one of them. We're doing a good job.
Paid him $20. This is just some budget amendments I'm gonna be working on, just, general cleanup, things you voted for during the year that weren't in the original budget. I hope to have them to you for next week's meeting, but if I don't have them ready, they'll be on the April agenda.
Okay.
So,
Any questions for Kay? All right, let's go to resolutions. A resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee, authorizing and directing the city attorney to file the 2023 tax bills for the collection of all delinquent taxes for that year. Ms. Ginger? Okay, both of you?
Standard resolution that just authorizes the collection of delinquent taxes every year. We just roll in tax year
Right.
into we just have to keep one big collection lawsuit going in Chancery Court.
and I'll mention that we've just mailed out letters to all 2023 delinquent taxpayers in the last couple days to give them one last notice, hey, they're gonna be turned over. We've given them till March 26th at 4 p.m.
Okay.
So taxpayers have till March 26th at 4 p.m. to not be turned over to the clerk and master.
And that brings a good point, particularly since I have 2 new council members. There is a small window of time most people that do any type of closings or real estate in this town know. There's a small window of time where people cannot pay their county, city, board trace, whoever, can't pay their taxes because it's been stopped at town hall or city hall or Tanya's office, wherever.
Right.
And then you're in the process of turning that over to the attorney and getting it filed in Chancery Court. Just letting you know that, a day or two.
Okay.
Which means
So they have to,
after March 26th, they have to pay legal fees and all that.
that's right. After, you can come,
They can't stand there and pay it if they want.
right, they can come to Kay up until close of business on the 26th. That's the deadline. That will be published out. We'll publish that notice that people have got time to do that. After that, the next day, maybe even into Friday, we're doing what we've got to do to get that turned over. I don't accept taxes. They can't come and pay her after that. They can't pay me after that. They have to wait till that is in Chancery Court. Kurt gets all that stuff put into their system. And at that point, there's additional court fees and all that stuff on there.
And typically, it's $200 or more because there's a title search fee, a tax attorney fee. I mean, you can add $200 to each piece of real property. So, I mean, it's.
Like I used to
really
say,
need to pay by March
like I used to say, pay your electric bill on time. Cost you money, cost you a lot of money. If you can. All right, any questions on that, folks? All right, B, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee, acknowledging or authorizing an annual grant contract in the amount of $25,000 with the state of Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security for the Tennessee Highway Safety Office grant. Lisa, please. Ms. Smith.
Excuse me, yes, sir. This is a annual grant that the police department applies for and gets, pretty standard. It's $25,000 as it says. There's no local match, and the funds are used for DUI checkpoints and pay officers overtime for that. Did I get that right?
Good, good. Any questions on that?
Can I ask a slightly off-topic question to our chiefs? Where are we at on the block system? How many of our cameras do we have?
We've got 7 online right now.
Okay,
We're still waiting on installation on the others.
okay.
I noticed the county is asking to get
They're
the block.
they're
system
applying
captured.
for 14, so.
Yeah.
What was our total gonna be? Are we going to 12 or?
We went with 12.
12, okay. Yeah. And that's with the same company, right, the county and everything?
Yes.
Okay. That's good that you can share information like that. Any other comments, questions? Okay, business items, a certificate of compliance, Deepak Bhagat, discount cigarettes and tobacco. Lisa?
Yes, sir. This comes before the council. It's a certificate of compliance of good moral character. This is an established store. Normally you see these for liquor stores, new liquor store owners, but this is actually an established convenience market. They have had a beer license for years under this gentleman's name, and he has just come in and requested to start selling wine. And so to do that in the store, they have to go through this process. His background check came back fine. I've already got all the paperwork, so it's just a kind of standard motion that'll be on your agenda next week.
Okay. Any comments or questions on that? Okay. Purchasing bid items. We're gonna need some salt.
Well, we're out.
I guess we need some then.
We're just asking for a small.
Box at home.
We have the last event cleaned us out, so, just be safe, because we are in, we've had April snows before.
Have you got a dollar amount? Did I see a dollar amount somewhere?
$20,000.
20,000. Okay.
Get us through this year.
And that'll be one of the budget amendments.
Okay. All right. Okay. Appointments, council representative, safe and affordable housing. Josh, have you got time to do that?
Honestly, I looked and I wish I did. It is on the fourth Tuesday and I've got a fourth Tuesday commitment already.
Does anybody else want to volunteer to be on that? It's one time a month.
It's monthly on the fourth Tuesday, yeah.
Anybody want to volunteer? Well, I'll have to name somebody, but I'll wait on that. Is that all right to defer it one more time?
It'll still be on the agenda next week, but if you'd like to defer it that time.
Okay. Maybe we make a decision. If you think you can handle, and we need somebody there. And they're still meeting, Lisa, is that correct and all that, right?
Yes, sir, they meet on the last Tuesday of the month, or the fourth Tuesday of the month.
And where do they meet?
They're currently meeting at the rec center.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay. All right, other business, do we have any other business tonight? Do we have any announcements tonight?
Heavy rain about 20 minutes away.
Better we go home.
Okay, all right, let's adjourn this meeting.